Have you ever felt like you are an imposter, meaning that you are like, you're not who you say you are, or that you can't have what you want to have, or whatever is happening in your life that, or whatever is happening? Well, many of us have felt like an imposter, me included, more times than I care to admit. And so today we're going to talk about ways to overcome imposter syndrome. So welcome back to my channel. I am here every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday teaching you about all things marketing, your business, and all those types of things. Now, along with your business comes you. So in our Friday episodes, I'm always talking about like things like this. And so if you ever hear on a Friday, you're like, why is she talking about this subject? It's because you are a person, and I'm not just going to teach you how to make money. I'm going to teach you how to have a healthy life, how to be a healthy person, a well-balanced person, and someone who is mentally tough because you're focusing on your mental health and all the things. So today we're talking about imposter syndrome. And what I want to do, like I always do, is I want to go to what I call Dr. Google, and we're going to see what Google says about imposter syndrome. So let's go ahead and click on Google. So Google says that, and all I did was I typed in imposter syndrome, and I'm going to read to you what comes up. Imposter syndrome, parentheses, IS, is a behavioral health phenomenon described as self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments among high-achieving individuals. Very interesting. So then someone said, what does imposter syndrome feel like? Imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite high performance in external objective ways. This condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or a phony and doubting their abilities. Okay. I also want to tell you what BetterHelp.com says about it. So Dr. Valerie Young, an author, she says, okay, here we go. The 5 types of imposter syndrome. Because like we're killing this lady's bio. I'm like, okay, imposter syndrome. 1 is a perfectionist. 2 is the superwoman or superman. 3 is an expert. 4 is the soloist. And then 5 is the natural genius. So let's just kind of talk about, that when we got on Google and it said that, where'd it go? I really like that one. It says that the condition often results in people feeling like a fraud or a phony and doubting their abilities. So let's go ahead and dive into that. So I am curious, are you currently having success in an area of your life or in your business and you feel like a fraud? You feel like people are going to find out about you, that what everybody thinks, what everybody feels isn't actually true, right? Even though it is true, but you feel like it's not true when it comes to you. Raising my hand because I have felt that way and I can feel that way in different aspects of my life. And what I know about that is that, so when I say this next phrase, I don't mean that it should be this way, but it's kind of is this way right now. What I feel like is that feeling like an imposter is kind of normal in terms of how people feel. Like if you talk to a lot of people, and if they're honest and vulnerable, probably 9 times out of 10, people will say that, yeah, I feel like a fraud, I feel like a phony, or I have felt that way. And I don't really know exactly why that has become, why that is a thing in our world today. But I will just tell you about myself, okay? So I am somebody who, I love people. I love being around people. I love encouraging people. I love entertaining people. I love to be entertaining. And I'm always going after what it is that I want to have, right? So I want to have success in my health. I want to have success in my home, have success in my business and relationships and all that type of stuff, right? And so there are all of these positive aspects of me, right? But I also have my challenges, okay? I have all the different things that I wouldn't want to be plastered all over TV. I have my ways that I don't want people to know about. I have my challenges in life and business and health and relationships that I don't want the whole world to know about. And what I have experienced is that hear this awesomeness about me, the way I make people feel and all of this stuff, right? But I have these times where I am like, this is true. But this is also true about me, right? And like let me give an example. So I genuinely love spending time with people. I love encouraging people, being around people, right? But I also can find myself being annoyed with people when I'm with them, right? So I was in an environment, and there were lots of us there talking, and one person was just dominating and over and over and over and over again. This person was just not self-aware. They could not see how negative they were being. They could not see how they were dominating. They could not see how they were sort of kind of being a princess in the room and not actually reading the room and understanding that, like, hey, we're not here for you. We're here for us. And the person just could not read the room. And so I found myself just being annoyed. I didn't say anything, but I could feel myself. My face wasn't saying it and I wasn't saying it, but I could feel it. And I could feel myself start to digress. I could feel myself start to not watch the person talk anymore, not listen to the person talk anymore, not ask any more questions. I could see myself grabbing my phone and distracting myself with my phone, or grabbing something to eat and just no longer engaging with the person. And instead of me just learning how to handle what was happening with this person and get this person to stop talking so the rest of us could engage with each other, right? And so it sounds a lot nicer as I'm saying it here, but it's not as nice when it's happening internally, right? And what could have happened is if, like, just say my best friend was in a room. What could have happened is if my best friend was in a room or in the vicinity, then what could have happened from the not so great side of me is I could have been like, oh man, here's what happened with this person. And I could start going in on this person because of how I was feeling internally. Now, thank God she wasn't there, so I didn't say anything, but I know that about me, how I just love people, but I also can do this, and that doesn't feel good, right? So I have these moments where I'm just like, oh man, like, am I going to have this moment where I'm around all these people and I just can't hold it? Am I going to have this moment where I'm just going to like say something I shouldn't say, or my face is going to say something, right? And I'm going to be exposed. Does that make sense? And that's just that instance with that particular thing, because we all have pluses and minuses to us, to all these different things. I have had times where I've had an incredible amount of success, financial success, stage success, whatever, right? And then seeing how people are responding to me, like especially if I'm speaking or something, and seeing how everybody responds to me after I get off stage and all that type of stuff. And then having this feeling of, I wasn't that good. I wasn't that great. I wasn't this person. I wasn't this, all this stuff, starts to happen. Or the fear that, like, it happened to me actually recently. I spoke at a conference in Dallas, and, after I spoke, I talked to a couple people, and as I started walking around, I had this feeling of like, nobody enjoyed that. Nobody enjoyed that presentation. Nobody was talking, whatever. And I had to start talking to myself, right? And this is how you start to overcome imposter syndrome. I had to start talking to myself because I was having this internal war that was happening. I knew that I did a great job in my presentation. I knew that I did, right? But internally, I was at war with myself saying, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. Nobody enjoyed it. The founders were in the room. They didn't enjoy it, whatever. I had to stop my own self and stop the negative self-talk. And I had to say to myself, whether anybody else in that room enjoyed it, you had a good time. Right? You taught them, you gave your all in all, you crushed it, right? And so I had to say that. Then in the moment when I had that thing with the person that was dominating conversations, one of the things that I start doing every night when I go to sleep is I always try to, like, people like they count sheep or count backwards, they can go to sleep. Well, one of the things that I now do is I start saying, here are some amazing things that happened today. And one of the things that I did when I was going to sleep was I was like, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so proud that in that moment, when I wanted to say something, when I wanted to whatever, I did not. I engaged and I was kind and I was gentle and I let them dominate talking to everybody else, and I managed how I navigated that situation. And what is that doing? That is telling me, hey, Kenya, you can handle people. You can handle people who are not self-aware. You can handle people who dominate conversations and have no idea that this is not about them. This is about the group or whatever, right? And so that's how I'm like combating the whole like situation of like, I'm gonna crash and burn because one day I'm gonna do this and do that or whatever, right? Because otherwise, if I am not like giving myself my own tools, right? If I'm not having tools on my tool belt and then pulling out a tool in a moment where I need to, then I will crash and burn. I will find myself not only feeling like an imposter, but then I'll start doing things that are self-sabotaging, okay? I will start to do things that are self-sabotaging. Now, another thing that you can do to overcome imposter syndrome is to just list your accomplishments. So I talked about the situation with the woman, the person, and me being on stage. But another thing that we can do, I can do, you can do, is listing out our accomplishments, because it's going to be really easy for us to say what we can't do, what we're not going to do, or whatever. But if we are able to like build out this list, here is what actually has happened. Here is what's awesome about me or whatever. Then when this stuff starts to rear its ugly head, because it will, now you've got this list of stuff, these list of things that is going to actually keep you and help you go to the next level. So I remember when I had gone through divorce and this lady came to my house to clean. She said God told her to come. And so she came, she cleaned, she did all this stuff. And she texted me and she asked me, she said, I see a bunch of magazines. What are in these magazines? I said, well, I'm in the magazine. And she said, well, God told me to ask you what page you are on, because you need to put that thing on the refrigerator so you can see it, because you need to be reminded of who you are and what God has done for you in your life. And I said, okay. And so I took that out. I had it on my refrigerator. What did that do? In that time when I felt like I was nobody, when I felt like I was the lowest of the low, that thing was always there on my refrigerator to remind me of who I am, who I have been, and that person is still on the inside of me, so that no matter what was happening, that I could still be great, right? Not to mention all around my house, I have little accomplishments. Like right here, let me show you. I have my book here that shows that I've written a book called Before You Quit Your Job. It is always on display. One, as product placement, helps me to sell my book when I'm online. Two, it's a reminder to me that I did it, because I've said it for years that I wanted to write a book, but I didn't think that I had it. I think that anybody would want to read it, or that I wasn't a good writer. But once I wrote this thing, published it myself, I realized I am awesome. I did this. Not anybody else, not a publisher, me. I chose the name of the book, the logo. I did all of this. I didn't design it, but I did all of this. Kenya Kelly did all of this. And it was just an amazing reminder to do that, right? But another thing that I did here was that I have this picture of myself. And this is me when I was 22 years old. I was speaking at a conference. They invited me to speak for 2 minutes. 12,000 people at 22 years old. This is one of my biggest accomplishments to date, because like there's so many people in the company that could have been on the stage that day. You know, so many people that could have been on the stage that day, but it was me that they chose. And it's a reminder that you are still that person. So in those moments when life is lifing and whatever's happening, that is still you. All of that is still on the inside of you. And you can be and do exactly what you want to do, because you've already done it. If you can do it at 22, you can do it at 42, right? So you got to list your accomplishments. Another thing you need to do is you need to have a great support system of people, because here's one thing I know. If you got great people in your corner, in those times when you feel like an imposter and you're courageous enough to go and be vulnerable to friends, family, or whomever, those people are going to pick you right back up. They're going to tell you every single thing you need to know. Not like fake stuff, but the real you. They are going to support you and help you become the very best version of yourself by reminding you of who you already are, okay? You don't need negative Nancys around you, because negative Nancys will take you all the way to the bottom. That's not who you need around you. You need those people that see you, that know you and love you, and are like, we're going to do this and you've already done this and I'm going to support you. The last thing you need to do is you have to remember that you are enough. Okay? You have to remind yourself that you are enough, that the accomplishment that you have already, whatever you've already accomplished, that is enough, right? And you are enough. You don't have to be like this person over here or this person over here. You don't have to make the amount of money somebody else's make. You don't have to have whatever it is that other people have, that who you are, what you have, and what you've already done is more than enough. That is something I have to always remind myself because I am 42 years old. I am not currently married and I do not have children. And so it would be easy to be like, oh, the reason why you don't have kids, don't have a man because you're so whatever, you know what I mean? And I have to remind myself, listen, if I want to have a man, I could have one. I want a great one. I don't just want one. I want a great one, right? Two, if I want to have kids, I could have kids. I don't want to have kids with myself. I want to have it with a great man. My choice, right? And so in those times when I feel like I can have these moments of like, oh, this is not happening. I didn't have this and I didn't do that. It's like, listen, you're more than enough, Kenya. And I had to just remind myself that you are more than enough. And so that is what you have to do for you, okay? So the whole goal of this episode today is to encourage you that you are more than enough. You are doing really well for yourself. And you got to make sure that you have tools in your tool belt, okay? So that in those moments when something happens and you feel like an imposter, you got to pull those things out, whether it's something on your fridge, it's something on your visor in your car, it's affirmations, it's a person you call. You've got to do these things because otherwise nothing else is going to pull you out because stuff is going to happen. You're always going to have that little devil trying to talk to you or whatever, but you also got to talk to God, right? And talk to yourself and remind yourself of who you are, what you've done, and all the things, okay? So if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. We have videos that come out every single week, 3 times a week. And if you know that you have questions about this or just want to comment, be sure to comment below. I would love to talk to you.